This is the fourth tutorial in a series that shows how to convert a driving game made for the Blender game engine to a web-based game engine. In this tutorial, I'll show you how to add sound effects, and I'll show you how to reduce health when the car collides with an obstacle. In the first part of this tutorial, I'll show you the changes that need to be made to the Blender file, and in the second part, I'll show you the changes that need to be made to the JavaScript file. Zoom in and select the cube that acts as the collision bounds for the monkey statue, and click Physics Properties. For the collision ID, I'm going to put Obstacle. Highlight it. To copy it, I'm pressing Ctrl and C. Select the other cube, and to paste, I'm pressing Ctrl and V. The collision ID for the gemstones had to be unique. Each gemstone had to have a different ID so that when the car collided with it, the correct gemstone was removed from the scene. All objects that I want to be an obstacle to the car, I'm going to give a collision ID of obstacle, and when the car collides with them, the health will be reduced. Next, I'm going to add speaker objects for the sound effects. Before I do, I notice there's an empty object left over from the Blender game engine. I'm going to press X to delete that. And I'm going to move the cursor back to the center. In the object menu, snap cursor to center. Add speaker. In the object properties, set the X location to 2 and name the speaker Speaker Bell. It will be linked to a bell sound effect. In the speaker properties, change speaker behavior to background sound. Click the open button. Go to the folder where you have your sound effect files. Select the file and open. Add speaker. I'm going to link this speaker to a cash register sound effect. Select and open. Don't forget to change behavior to background sound. If the sound is very quiet, you most probably have. In the object properties, set the X location to 4, and I'm going to name the speaker object Speaker Cache Reg. I have jumped ahead and added 2 more speaker objects. This one is called Speaker Rev Engine and is linked to an engine revving sound effect. And this one is linked to a glass breaking sound effect and is called Speaker Glass. The Blender file is now ready to use with Blend for Web's Project Manager. Before I save it, the Blender file contains 2 scenes. There is a successful completion end scene. I'm not going to use this scene, so I'm going to delete it. Back in Project Manager, I've already created a new project, My Driving Game 2. I'm going to overwrite the dummy Blender file and use it to overwrite the dummy JSON file. Back in Blender, File, Save As, go to the Blend for Web folder, the Projects folder, the My Driving Game 2 folder, Blender, click on the Blender file and click Save As to overwrite it. To overwrite the JSON file, File, Export, Blend for Web JSON, make sure you're in the Driving Game 2 Assets folder, click on the JSON file and click Export to overwrite it. When the JSON file is exported, the sound files are exported. If I go to the Blend for Web folder, the Projects folder, My Driving Game 2, Assets, there is the JSON file and the 4 sound effect files. They've been renamed, but if I double click them, they play. If a sound doesn't play in the web browser, the first thing to check is that the sound file is in the Assets folder. If a sound file hasn't been exported, make sure External Data Automatically Pack is checked, and you may need to click the Fake User button before re-exporting. Next, I'm going to look at the code that I have added since the last tutorial to process the health and the sound effects. The sound effects module is added, and there is a global value for the health, which is set to an initial value of 100. Scrolling down to the Place Your Code Here section, there is a call to a new function, Play Engine Sound, which I'll go through at the end. The only thing new in the Create Text Display function is in this line where we display the score and the health. In the Create Collision Sensors function, links are made to the speaker objects using the getObjectByName function for the bell sound effect, the cash register sound effect, and the breaking glass sound effect. Notice the Rev Engine is missing. That is covered in the Play Engine Sound function. Once you have the link to the speaker object, simply use the Play function to play the sound effect. I've added another collision sensor for when the car collides with any object that has the collision ID obstacle, collisions that affect the health. I've added the sensor to the sensor array, and there are now 5 sensors in the logic function. Any of them becoming positive, the callback function will be called. I have put the statements that process the collisions inside an if statement so that the collisions are only processed if the score is less than the end score and the health is greater than 0. There is a new if statement for the 5th sensor when the car collides with an obstacle. The breaking glass sound effect is played and 10 is subtracted from the health. When the end score is reached or the health falls to 0, appropriate messages are displayed. In a future tutorial, I'll do something more interesting when these events occur. So finally, I'm going to look at the Play Engine Sound function. As above, we get a link to the speaker object, which itself is linked to the sound file. Next, we create 4 keyboard sensors that sense the event of the up arrow key being pressed, the down arrow key, the W key, and the S key. With the Blend for Web API, the sensor manifold links sensors that sense events to the callback function that processes the events. If the first sensor or the second or the third or the fourth become positive, the callback function is called, which simply plays the Rev Engine sound. That's the end of this tutorial. I'll put all the files used in the tutorial for you to download at my website. To visit my website, click the eye icon in the top right hand corner. If you'd like to subscribe, click the stick man. If you'd like to sponsor my tutorials, click the Patreon link. Thanks for watching and goodbye.